Today we're going to talk about 12 strategies for managing your stress and anxiety. What up, my people? My name is Romany Malco. I am the founder of the PEP, the People's Empowerment Platform, and you've just tuned into another episode of Advice from a Jackass. If there's any part of this video that you find valuable, please click the like button. If you really dig the information, I beg of you to click the subscribe button and the notification bell. All right, let's get into this. Since the WHO puts the number of people suffering from anxiety at over 300 million in 2017, we will look at anxiety and stress management techniques vetted by psychologists. Hopefully, a couple of them will feel right for you. Okay, so now let's start with number 12, which is to identify your anxiety source. It's a damn good place to start, and it'll cost you nothing but time. The source could be a subject matter, such as abuse, or it could even be a person, particularly a person who triggers overwhelming anxiousness leading to stress. Once you identify your trigger, Lawrence Robinson, who's a psychologist and an author, he says if it turns out to be a person, you should limit the amount of time that you spend with that person or cut ties with that person altogether. But because it might be difficult to avoid some people in certain situations, Robinson has also outlined 3 other measures that you can take in his 4 A's of stress management. One of them is if you can't avoid the trigger, alert the trigger. And that don't mean that you just punch your trigger in the face. And if you still find alteration difficult, you can adapt to it. Some triggers just can't change, so you have to accept it the way it is. But did you catch it? Avoid, alter, adapt, accept, all of which will help you manage your anxiety and or stress after you identify their sources. I just want to add that just because you have a trigger when you encounter a certain situation or a certain person, it doesn't always make it the other person's fault. We as adults do have a responsibility to work on our own shit, to resolve issues within our heart, and to somehow find ways to overcome and get past our pasts. So what does that mean? It means that just because you've had your heart broken in the past doesn't give you license to shut your life down, stop trusting every single human being, and live the rest of your days as a hermit. Although it sounds like a pretty decent option. So there is some personal work to be done, but just like Lawrence Robinson's 4 A's to stress management, the remaining stress management techniques that I'm about to present cost you nothing but a little bit of time. So let's breeze through these really quick. At number 11, you can try out relaxation techniques such as deep breathing exercises. There are other relaxation strategies, and we will look at more of them, but now let's focus on deep breathing. Cheryl Ancrom, a certified mental health counselor, and Amy Morman, a psychotherapist, they write that although rapid and shallow breaths could indicate anxiousness, controlling your breath in those moments can actually prevent anxiety or stress from settling in. They recommend 3 steps to do this. First, inhaling slowly and deeply through your nose. Secondly, exhaling very slowly through your mouth. And keep at this until you feel better again. My son, who happens to be on the spectrum, actually uses the deep breathing technique. He's an 11-year-old, and he will sometimes redirect himself with deep breathing as his anxiety builds up. Amazing. I'm sure you guessed it, meditation takes the number 10 spot. It's another relaxation technique intended to help you become more relaxed and more mindful. Bob Stahl, a mindfulness-based stress reduction teacher, says that practicing mindfulness is the process of learning to trust and stay with your feelings of discomfort rather than trying to find ways to escape them or overanalyze them. He had me till he said analyze, because I'm an analyzing mofo. He believes that with mindfulness you can create a space around your worries so that they don't consume you. I am here to testify that meditation can really help with anxiety. Up next, number 9, something I actually make my family do, which is take nature walks. Research has shown that mental well-being is linked to our engagement with nature. A study conducted in the UK found that when you exercise in natural settings, it actually improves your esteem and your mood. Our mood is actually associated with anxiety and stress. So if you're feeling a bit low, you take a walk in the park, try camping with friends, or find a view of a forest, and it will really help you to undo some of that stress. In an earlier video, I explained how I actually changed my life by making it a habit to basically stare at the ocean from sun up to sundown. I've actually met people in Los Angeles, California, who have never seen the ocean. It is imperative that all of us find a way to connect with nature. 1, it is incredibly healthy for us. 2, it's some of the cleanest air we will ever breathe. And 3, the more aware we are of nature, the more effort we will put forth in preserving nature. Just being around green natural spaces will help to uplift your mood, igniting happiness. Being on social media is a common trigger of anxiety and stress. And this is why taking breaks from these platforms is at number 8. Yes, taking a break from your social media is an anxiety and stress management technique. Although quite a lot of people enjoy being on Twitter or Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, it sometimes challenges our mental state. Anxiety, isolation, and depression are some of the byproducts of these challenges. Yes, many of us rely on social media to keep up with what's going on in the world, to keep up with what's going on with our friends, which is necessary, but you also have to be mindful of your mental state. And every now and then, that weekly break is a great way to hit the reset button. It's interesting how through social media, we can create our own psychological microcosm. And then we subconsciously feel boxed in by the realities we allow through our timeline. And before you know it, we're comparing ourselves to other people, preparing for a civil war, and ordering hairline restoration creams on the internet at 3 o'clock in the morning. By the way, if you have not subscribed to this channel yet, you are cruising for a bruising. I am chomping at the bits to get to number 4, literally chomping at the bits to get to number 4, but I know we're at number 7, which happens to be another one of my favorite topics, listening to cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance and anxiety frequently go together. You've heard me talk about this in other videos. In fact, no one talks about it better than Tijuana Jackson, life coach with a goon hand. How do we describe cognitive dissonance? Cognitive dissonance is this unsettled feeling or troubled thoughts that we typically have when we know that something doesn't quite feel right. Simply being unable to identify or define what it is that we're feeling in the particular circumstance can plunge us right into anxiety. For instance, a person who aspires to have a lasting and faithful relationship, but indulges in unfaithful practices. This creates a conflict within them, and that conflict is the dissonance that arose from one's practices and desires being incongruent. It can also be knowing that you're being cheated on, but being told that you're crazy for thinking so, gaslighting. It can be this major contradiction between what you are feeling in your gut versus what you are being told. Racism doesn't exist. There's no such thing as discrimination, yet you are feeling and experiencing something quite different in your day-to-day life. In this situation, Tanya Peterson, author of anxiety self-help books, recommends that rather than suppress the emotions, you listen to that dissonance to calm your anxiety. Process the anxiety by providing answers to questions such as, what are your thoughts about it? What are your emotions about it? How are your actions causing anxiety, and what does that anxiety feel like? By doing this, you help to sort out the dissonance. And while you are at it, you will feel a sense of calmness, which consequently eases anxiety. I wholeheartedly believe that our intuition is the most advanced technology in the world. But sometimes we can confuse psychological conditioning for intuition, and we have to be mindful of that as well. Damn, that could be a whole different video all by itself. So remember how we were talking about taking breaks from social media? Well, while you were taking those breaks from social media, you could use that time to do what we have on number 6, which is creating self-help time, intentionally designating time for self-help. Once again, author and psychologist Lawrence Robinson says that creating me time can actually help to reduce stress and help us kind of like wind down and get through a lot of the stress that we bundled up throughout the week. Robinson insists that you first have to include this relaxation period in your schedule to get started, meaning it has to be intentional. Know that this could be once a week, or it could be a couple seconds every day. It could even just be something that you do maybe on the weekends. It could even be as simple as doing something that you enjoy for a little bit every single day. But the key is to break yourself out of the mundane patterns that lead to your stress to begin with. Be intentional about designating a time for you to relax and for you to laugh. So what have we covered so far? Identifying triggers, carrying out some me time, taking a break from social media, nature walks, or maybe just sitting on the beach or walking on the beach. Those are all great techniques. We're going to continue counting down the number 1, but before we do, I just have to ask you please to follow me at Pep Pager Lite. That's Pep Pager Lite, which you can find in Google Play and the App Store. It's just a notification app that allows me to notify you of my posts rather than relying on these social media platforms to do so. It's free. You can use the service for yourself if you'd like. I don't charge anything. I get so many people complaining that they haven't received a notification from my post. I was like, cool, maybe I just do it myself. But moving on to the remaining anxiety and stress management techniques, we come to number 5. Bruce Campbell, who is a former self-help research project consultant for Stanford Medical School, came up with this stress management technique. Sometimes we expect too much of ourselves or of others, and this can lead to overthinking. We set these unrealistic expectations, which can affect our mood when things don't turn out the way in which we intended. And this is why Campbell insists that we actually make a mental adjustment to change our expectations. He suggests that we mentally adjust our prospects. It lessens the chance of mood swings when you fail to get something done that stresses you out. He believes it's important to set realistic and achievable goals. I have personally found that to set small incremental goals that lead up to the completion or manifestation of a greater goal works well for me. Tackling the objectives, however small, on a daily basis gives me this sense of order. So I'm never left wondering if my day was spent constructively. And that is a problem that I do have. Also, I'm never left at that place of feeling overwhelmed. This helps greatly with my anxiety, but there is more to it. The feeling of falling behind or being behind creates so much stress unnecessarily throughout the day, and it accumulates over time, that simply by giving myself these small objectives and being able to check off little things on the box gives me just enough of an endorphin rush to feel accomplished and feel as though I am actually getting to a point of achieving something. I know I'm long-winded, but I had to get that off my chest. Now, coming in at number 4, try to maintain a healthy lifestyle. What you choose to eat and drink can help manage anxiety and stress. Eating a healthy diet keeps the body well-nourished enough to handle stress. Look, I'm not making this up. I have noticed that when I eat certain things, I am more prone to biting my fingernails or twitching my foot. That speaks volumes to me. A lot of times, what we are considering food, feeding to our families, feeding to our children, doesn't even contain nutrients. So our bodies feel weak, we get the itis, we feel listless, and that is a breeding ground for stress and anxiety. Caffeine and sugar, those are stimulants, fam. They give you these temporary highs, and then you crash, leave you feeling with all this stress and anxiety, heart beating fast for no reason, feeling hungry when you just ate. Now you're all irritable and snapping at people when you normally were able to tolerate stuff and let it roll off your back. I wish that people were more aware of how big of a role food plays, nutrition plays in their overall sense of happiness, sense of being, and even in accomplishing things. My personal opinion is, if it does not contain nutrients, we should not categorize it as food. I can think of a bunch of things that we eat that we don't call food. If it does not contain nutrients, it should not be categorized as food. I know I get a little carried away on this, but I want you to know what you eat has a direct effect on your overall mood and outlook. Moving into number 3, something that has been extremely challenging for me is exercising the discipline of just getting enough sleep. Sometimes I'm up at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning for no real reason. Maybe scrolling through the internet or just wasting time doing stuff that I should have done ages ago or that I would never really do. But for whatever reason, I choose nighttime, time that I should be sleeping, to bullshit. Smita Bandari, she's a certified adult, child, adolescent, and forensic psychiatrist, says that when it comes to anxiety and stress management, getting enough rest is key. Your body needs time to recover from stressful events. Sleep can be an effective tool to calming your racing thoughts as your body distresses while you sleep. And guess what? Reducing your coffee intake might give you more time to sleep. Let me tell you something. These stimulants like coffee and sugar and crack, they ragdoll you internally. What's that? Remind everyone to hit the like button? Yes, okay, I'll make sure to let them know and ask them to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell as well. I'm on it. Thank you. I'm not going to do that. I hate asking people to do stuff like that. Moving down to number 2, time management. Stress sometimes comes from being disorganized. As you can tell, I am drawing from personal experience. Just like overthinking can trigger anxiety, having so many things to do without a clue of how to go about getting any of them done can lead to so much stress. Here are 4 things you can do. 1, plan your day and prioritize tasks. 2, learn to say no. Break down a task into smaller bits or steps, or as I like to say, objectives. Remember how I mentioned setting small incremental goals? Well, that breakdown helps me to gauge my progress and gives me a sense of accomplishment on a day-to-day basis. It also prevents me from feeling unaccomplished and unclear, both of which trigger my stress and anxiety. And finally, number 4, share responsibilities. Too much to do? Give to someone else who can help, or a colleague at work who can assist you. Sharing the responsibility is difficult for someone who's very controlling or likes to micromanage. Anyway, learning to share the responsibility is a tough skill, but it is quite necessary. Managing your day and staying organized can eliminate stress before it settles in. I'm telling you from personal experience. Finally, at number 1, wait. Can you please follow me at Pep Pager Lite? You can find it in Google Play and the App Store. It just allows me to notify you of my posts to YouTube or to Facebook or whatever platform you follow me on without having to rely on these social media platforms to send out my notifications for me. Thank you in advance. Finally, at number 1, you can consider getting support. Sometimes none of the techniques I've mentioned, the first 10, 11 techniques I mentioned, might not prove to work for you because you are dealing with a very specific situation. Maybe you can lean on a friend, or you can go to therapy. You know, therapists can sometimes recommend approaches towards anxiety and stress management that are specific to your triggers. I know for me, my first 2 therapy sessions quieted so much negative internal dialogue that was stressing me the hell out and building up so much anxiety in me minute to minute to minute, just by being able to sit across from someone who was objective and was not judgmental and was not in the business of shaming me for my flaws, helped me to relax, helped me to be a bit calmer and to be just a tad bit more confident that there was support in the world. Out of these 12 techniques, tell me which ones resonate with you, which have you implemented, which do you know to actually work? Oh hell, why don't you just tell me which ones you're going to try? Also, please share what are some of the things that trigger your stress, and you can let me know that while you click the subscribe button and the notification bell, or just follow me on the PEP. Once again, my name is Romany Malco. I am the founder of the PEP, the People's Empowerment Platform, and this concludes another episode of Advice from a Jackass.